Providing aid to foreign countries in need is extremely important to the Australian government. The Australian government has allotted $5.2 billion for aid in the recent budget. This money will be used for things such as overcoming poverty and building stability in the Pacific, closing development gaps in East Asia, continuing of the Pacific Police Defence Program, continuation of Australia's aid program in Afghanistan, strengthening preparedness and response to humanitarian crises, and Australia's development partnership with the United Nations. Providing aid to other countries that have been affected by war, poverty, and natural disasters causes a strong link to form, which could lead to countries providing aid to Australia should it need it. Non-government organisations, or NGOs, are an important part in Australia's providing aid to other countries. There are many Australian NGOs that assist in providing aid to foreign countries. These NGOs provide an essential link that allows for communication between Australian people and people of other nations. Some NGOs include Caritas Australia, Oxfam Australia, World Vision Australia, and Red Cross Australia. These organisations allow for the Australian people to donate money directly to the people who really need it, as well as giving people the opportunity to volunteer themselves to physically go to other countries to help do things like build schools and distribute food and water. The organisations provide a means through which Australian people can communicate with other countries and are able to share their culture. An example of this is how World Vision Australia allows people to sponsor a child, giving them a monthly donation to help improve their quality of life. This forms a link between the child's village, and the Australian sponsor.
Australian culture is like no other. However, the links it has with cultures around the world is undeniable. Australia is home to hundreds of unique cultures which together create a multicultural society. These many cultures all provide Australia with links to their respective countries, some stronger than others. We can walk around the streets of Sydney and pass 10 different restaurants with 10 different themes or national cuisines. With a high number of Asian residents, Australia's ties with countries in the Asian Pacific are becoming stronger, with the government planning to introduce mandatory language studies of one Asian nation. This multiculturalism has had its advantages. However, it comes with disadvantages as well, with violence and racism becoming a major issue, as evident by the race riots in 2005 and most recently anti-Western riots in September of 2012. But Australians are still able to come together and celebrate all their different backgrounds. A major link with cultures comes through their mutual love of sport. Australia's rivalry with New Zealand in rugby union, rugby league and cricket is unprecedented. And India vs Australia is usually the headline of the back page of the newspaper throughout the summer. The League and Union World Cup unite the nations of Asia, Europe, Australia and the Pacific Islands for some intense football.
Yeah, sometimes to do with these people in the minority. Here's a play, down the right side, Slater away, the Wolfman is with it, Williams is streaking away in his second test match to score. David Williams scores.
In the context of treaties, Australia has created for itself a vast array of varying agreements with nations around the world. Trade features as a very important element in Australia's treatying policies. Australia is a member of the World Trade Organisation. It is an organisation of nations united with an ambition to speak of trade issues and further develop their countries through mutual cooperation. APEC, which is a similar trade organisation, but which features countries around the Asia-Pacific region. The OECD, which has the same capacity as the APEC, except it is in a different area, and many other free trade agreements. All of these groups and all free trade agreements revolve around the principle of trade liberalisation, something which Australia holds very dear. Australia's principal free trade agreements are with nations both close and far away. These include countries like New Zealand, Singapore, the United States, Thailand, India, Japan and China. Julia Gillard recently spoke with the Pakistani Prime Minister over live exports of cattle to Pakistan and the controversies that arose after Pakistanis killed Australian cattle. So either way, whether people agree or disagree with the idea of free trade, it has definitely featured a great deal in Australia's policies and will continue to do so.
Over the next 40 years, it is projected that the number of young people and the number of people of traditional working age will both increase by about 45%. But here's the thing. Over the same 40-year period, the number of older people aged 65 to 84 years will more than double the number of very old people aged 45 and over, will increase by more than 4.5 times. It has increased in other countries as well as they need to improve their aid, trade, culture and communication. In 1994, Australia was the first country to develop a National Human Rights Action Plan. It was updated in 2004. In 2009, Australia's first community consultation on human rights was undertaken. More than 35,000 submissions were made and more than 6,000 people participated in community meetings, making it an unprecedented open consultation between government and the Australian public. In 2010, Australian Human Rights Framework was launched to outline the government's strategy for enhancing human rights protection and improving the human rights experience for all Australians. Human rights in other countries are much different to ours. Human rights are a major concern for all countries because it includes everyone in what is said and done in their country. Future approaches to reconciliation have been made on the level of government and other groups and individuals. While the federal government has looked at future progress of investment in housing and communal ownership of land for Indigenous Australians, such as the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Social Justice Commissioner Dr. William Jonas have called for the negotiation of treaties or agreements to protect future rights and address past injustices. Calls for more transparency and accountability in government policy making and for the Bill of Rights addressing racial discrimination in the Commonwealth Constitution have been further made. Australia is trying to heal the gaps between other countries that have been affected by war through giving aid to other countries that are in need, trading important resources to build their infrastructure.
Aid is a great way for Australia and other countries to help those who live in third world countries in need, thus attempting to solve social justice and equity issues. However, there is a problem. By providing aid, we cannot help every single person in need, which results in issues regarding who to provide aid to and why provide aid. No matter how many people receive aid, there will always be some people left out. There are many social justice and equity issues regarding trade. The main ones are globalization issues, such as the growth of multinational corporations, which is a product of improved transport and communications technology. The idea that there are winners, large companies in developed nations, and losers, less developed or poorer nations. Some industries may suffer, but workers may have to retrain and move on to other industries. Australia may only import and export to and from certain countries, making it unfair for others wishing to trade. Retribution may also occur by some countries if protectionist policies are imposed. Culture is probably most affected by social justice and equity issues due to the large amount of diversity in Australia. These issues can come in the form of racism, discrimination, segregation, and alienation. An example is Aboriginal rights. Ever since the English came to Australia, Aboriginals were widely mistreated because their culture was different. This is especially shown for the Stolen Generation, in which Prime Minister Kevin Rudd apologised to these people for.